All right, we are going live. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and some people can join us. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in whenever that might be. If you're live today with us, feel free to say hello and engage with us. We love chatting with you. I'm Jamie Chavez. I'm the president and CEO of the Westminster Chamber, and I'm joined by the Readers Book Club moderators, Brett Popish from Prosper Mortgage Group and Bryan Head from Bryan Head Consulting. And we are here to give you a preview of our next book, which is The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. So thank you both for joining me today. The central concept of this book is that success is achieved by narrowing your focus to the one thing that matters at any given time. And that by eliminating other distractions and prioritizing effectively, you can achieve greater results in both your personal and professional life. So let's go ahead and jump right in with Brett and Bryan. Why this book? Why did you pick this book right now as a good pick for the readers this month?
So I'll jump in. I've read the book once before. I'm actually in the middle of reading it a second time. I'm a firm believer, honestly, with a lot of these books. It helps to read them multiple times, just because every time you do, you just pick something else out of it that you didn't get before. But the premise of the book, again, just like you said, Jamie, talks about narrowing your focus down to one singular thing that by doing that one thing can make everything else either easier or not required to do, right? So, and I'm saying that a little kind of wonky or off, but we all go through our day, start our day with checklists. We have punch list stuff that we got to get done. And a lot of it is just busy work, right? We're filling our day with stuff that makes us seem busy, but it's not effective busyness. And so the purpose of this book is trying to get you to narrow down your focus to where you're busy, but you're being effective being busy, not just checking off things off of a list so that at 5 o'clock you think, oh, I got a lot done. Great. You got a lot of menial stuff done, but were you effective in pushing your business, pushing your goals, whatever, to that next level? And, when I first read it, I'm sitting there thinking, this guy's nuts, right? Now, for those of you that don't know Gary Keller, regardless of, your opinions about real estate companies, has a massive real estate company. And he's amassed a tremendous following, not only in the United States, but worldwide with his organization. So I think he has something to say, and we should probably listen to him. But and I first read it again with a high level of skepticism. But I will tell you, when I read that book, I think it was 2 years ago, I want to say that I read it for the first time. It's like an epiphany, a light went off to where I'll get up, I'll get in my office, and I'll see the laundry list of things I have to do. And literally I'll go through, and initially I do all the easy stuff to get that out of the way. But then I sit down and focus and say, okay, what is the one thing I have to do today to push my business? Every day that's going to be different. Some days it's the same thing. But every day I personally sit there and say, okay, what am I going to focus on today that will propel my business in whichever direction I need to take it for that day, that week, that month, whatever that might look like.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's a great description of the book. This book is new to me, so I'm about halfway through it now. And if you know me, you know that I wear a lot of different hats. I'm doing a lot of different things all the time. And so very often I become a victim of the tyranny of the urgent, and try to multitask. And so this book has been a real challenge because it's caused me to think about exactly what Brett's describing. What's the one thing that I need to get done to move the ball forward? And so I've really appreciated that. He uses, some good examples and things. And I think we can all kind of, it's easy in a society that's you're always on. You're carrying around your email in your pocket, in your phone. And so it's easy to become reactionary instead of proactive and focused on the one thing that makes you successful in a given, day or venture. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I think it's going to be beneficial. I like that we're doing this one after we read Start With Why last month, because I think there's a lot of kind of synchronicity between the two. If you clearly understand the why, then figuring out that one thing is a lot easier. And if those two things are in sync, I have to believe you're going to find some level of success pretty quickly.
Exactly. Piggyback off of something you just said, and I want to clarify because I had talked to a couple people before we decided on this book about going with the other book, Find Your Why. And I'm responsible for the pivot or the audible. Jamie. I had to pull an audible on it. And the reason I did is because I ordered the book. I got it off Amazon, came to my house. I'm looking through it. It's this big book. And I'm like, that looks like a workbook. I open it up and it's literally like a high school workbook. And I figured that we're all professionals here. Most of us probably wouldn't appreciate having a high school workbook assignment to do for book club. So I pulled it. And I feel like what you said, Bryan, this book, the one thing, it's a good companion to start with why, because it kind of mirrors it. And if the why gets kind of overused in many cases, but if you can focus on that and then figure out, okay, what's the one thing I need to do to propel that forward? I think it'll be good. And the book club meeting, I think, will add a lot of value. I know the last meeting, it was a little small, but we got pretty deep with our individual whys and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing that in the next meeting. So I'm going to put a challenge out to everybody to get your butts to the meeting.
Yeah,
okay?
That's a good challenge. Yeah.
It's a good time. I mentioned this to Jamie when I read it the other day, but I think it's in chapter 2. It's pretty early in the book. In the one thing, the author references this track star that came from Africa and became a track star, and now he's very successful. I went to a small school in West Texas, and that's where that person went, Abilene Christian University. He says the name of the school in the book. So small world. I've seen the guy he's talking about. I've seen him speak a couple of times. So that was kind of a fun personal connection. But yeah, to Brett's point, get to the meeting. It's a great group of people. There's always really good discussions. We say this every month, but I think it just keeps getting better. And like Brett said, you get some depth in there, and people really talking about what these concepts mean to them and how it applies to their lives, not just professionally, but a lot of these things can apply personally too. So I think it's a situation where we're all coming into a room to learn from each other and to better ourselves, and that's the right kind of room to be in. Yeah.
And if you're nervous about kind of opening up a little bit, there's no judgment whatsoever. And that's one thing that I want to make sure that we impress upon people is it's an open forum, and our goal is to listen and learn, because for somebody that hasn't attended yet, you might bring some value. You might not think it's value, but we might find value in what you have to say. So I encourage everybody to come, because we can all learn from one another.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to give too much away about the book, but definitely focusing on that one thing. It also challenges the myths of multitasking, kind of willpower always being on call, and the idea of like the work-life balance, and kind of advocating for an intentional imbalance in favor of what matters most. And so it's a really interesting book. I think we're going to really enjoy it. And so without giving too much away, I just kind of want to, again, chat a little bit more about the book club and the benefits of coming. What would you say to someone who maybe hasn't been, and you talked a little bit about this just now, Brett, but how has the book club helped you build a stronger relationship within this community?
Well, I think for me, I'm a fairly open book, no pun intended, in that I'm very honest with my approach with people. In the last meeting, when we're digging into the why concepts and whatnot, I got pretty, it got pretty vulnerable and open with why, I do what I do, and own your future is not just a tagline. That is my why. And, if you want to know why that is, let's schedule a coffee or come to the book club meeting and we can dive into that, because it's not a quick thing that I can explain. It's kind of a lengthy explanation. But, opening up and hearing other people's struggles, hearing other people's successes and wins. I think the more we share and the more we gather from people, the light's going to kick on. Maybe it won't kick on from something I say, but it could kick on from something that Bryan says, or something that Jamie says, or maybe something that, Brian Dice or David Carpenter says, or something like that, to where you're just like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And so, there's something about reading. Professional development obviously occurs when we read and digest the information, but I also think what's more powerful for professional development is discussing it and talking through the ideas that you took from the book, so that you can kind of verbalize it, and then you take ownership and take control over it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And within the chamber, I mean, I've been around since the very beginning, and so it's just a new facet. It's a new way to get to know people and understand people. And we've had some people that have shown up that I don't know that well. We've interacted, but not had any kind of depth of conversation. So that's been really cool, just getting to know people in a different context. And then, yeah, you learn from each other. And then, there's even been things that I've given an example from my own personal life or experience. And somebody, Eric Gardner, has done this to me a couple times. I've given an example, and then he'll say something like, I never would have expected that, and it causes you to think like, why? Like, because other people see you sometimes in a different context than you see yourself. And so there's been a lot of examples that I can think where, somebody has said something and then somebody else says, well, here's how I see it for you. And it really gives you a more well-rounded, I think, perspective on these topics. And like Brett said earlier, I think what we've done, I think it's symbolic of who the Westminster Chamber is globally, but I think this group specifically, we've done a good job of everybody's welcome. Everybody is sitting there just trying to better themselves and each other, and so it's almost like you're kind of rooting for each other in these conversations. And so it's a place that everybody's welcome. You don't have to feel like you're the odd man out or whatever.
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Whoops, rookie move. I definitely feel like we've learned a lot from each other. It's really fun to just see everyone's different perspectives and to see how different people are and how well that works, that people are so different. So it's really cool. Anything else that either of you want to say about the book club or this particular book? Oh, Brett has a couple extra books. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I've got 2 extra books. So anybody that has not been to a book club and you want to come, message me through Facebook, email, whatever. I'm easy to get a hold of. Just do a search. Message me. Let's connect, and I'll meet up with you, and I'll give you one of the 2 books that I have.
Awesome.
Last thing I would say about the book club, we haven't talked about much on these broadcasts, is it's an awesome venue. We meet at Kokopelli Beer Company. They've got great food, great drinks, great people, and we have a great meeting space. So it's just it's a great all around experience.
Yeah,
100%.
Definitely. All right. Well, I put Brett's email up there. If you're interested in coming and you haven't been before, you can send him an email, get a copy of the book. And we look forward to having you there with us. Thank you both for joining me today. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
All right. Thanks everybody.
Thanks. See you.
All right. See ya.